Hi everyone. So the purpose of this video is to show you how to do confidence intervals with a tool like Desmos. So in the notes, we've already done confidence intervals by hand, calculating that margin of error by hand. And then we've also in the notes shown how you can do it with a calculator, right? But not everyone has a TI calculator, so I'm going to show you how to do it with something like Desmos. In some of the other videos, we've used Desmos before, but some of the buttons have changed a little bit in the new Desmos version, so we're going to show you that new Desmos version. So I'm on section 8.1 right now, and we're going to scroll down to an example we've already done, okay? But this is example 5 here, okay? So we're in 8.1. We know what the population mean is. We know what the population standard deviation is. And so we want to construct a confidence interval. So it says, okay, we have some exams with an unknown population mean and a population standard deviation of 3 points. We have a random sample of 36 scores, and we know what the sample mean is. Okay, so that means if we were to do this by hand, need to use a z-score. So keep that in mind because what we're going to do on Desmos is something called a z-test, okay? And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to click this calculator button here. It's going to bring up this thing over here, and then we're going to click functions. And we're going to scroll all the way down on the functions until we see the term z-test. You can also just type in z-test into Desmos. That's totally fine. But this is the one we're going to use. So we're going to click that button, okay? And then it's going to have a bunch of values we need to put in. Okay? If you ever forget the order of the values that we put in, Desmos tells you what they are once you start typing a number. But for z-test, we're going to put in our sample size first, which is 36 scores. So we're going to type in 36. And you can see it pops up and tells you what you need to put in. We're going to put a comma, and then we're going to put a mean of 68. And then we're going to put a population standard deviation of 3. Okay? And once you do that, you'll see these two arrows pop up. We're doing a confidence interval right now. Later on, we'll do a hypothesis test, but we're doing a confidence interval right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And look, it says, oh, my confidence level is 95%. This is what my interval would be. But our question actually asked for a 90% confidence interval. So we're going to change this to 0.90, right? We have to write 90% as a decimal, which is 0.90. And it gives me that same confidence interval that we calculated by hand, which is 67.18 to 68.82. Okay. So that's kind of how you do it for, oh, well, um I have a sample mean and the standard deviation is known. However, we also saw, if I scroll all the way down here to section 8.2, right? Maybe I there's a population mean where the standard deviation is not known. That's a little bit different. Okay, that's a little bit different. And so what are we going to do here? So we have example 2 here, and that's the one that we're going to use. Okay, so in order to do this, we no longer, when we calculated by hand, did a z-score, but we instead did a t-score, this t alpha over 2. Okay, so then I'm going to go here, and instead of using a z-test, I'm instead going to scroll down until I see a t-test. So I'm going to click that t-test button. And good news for us, okay, good news for us is that the way you enter it in, like the order of numbers, is exactly the same. So we're going to enter in our sample size first, which looks to be 15. Okay, 15 students. So here I go, 1, 5. Now I need a mean and standard deviation. Okay. I need a mean and standard deviation, but I'm only given data points. Only given data points. So in the notes, we calculated what this mean and standard deviation was, and we got that the mean was 8. Ooh, not here. We got the mean was 8.2267, and we got the standard deviation was 1.6722. So now I have the sample size, the mean, and the standard deviation entered in, and I have a confidence interval. Well, this says my confidence level is 95%, which is exactly what the problem asked for. And so I get this confidence interval of 7.3 to 9.15. Okay, so that's how you do confidence intervals on Desmos in the new version of Desmos. All right, and I will see everyone next time.